but we'll go ahead and get started because we want to respect everybody's time.
Yeah, well, we got a half an hour.
Yeah, but Frank and I talked about it. We know the debate starts at 8, so if we may go a few minutes over, like 7:35, 7:40, depending on the conversation.
Okay.
So we can go. I think we are recording. So with that, I guess we'll start. And good evening to everyone who is watching this program. We are so excited to have this happening tonight. These two incredible men who are going to be joining us tonight. But first, before we start, we have a welcome from the president of the Detroit chapter of the Coalition of Black Trade Unionists, Mr. Frank Woods. Frank?
Hey there, I'm back. Good evening. We want to welcome everyone for this action-packed, thrilling conversation we're going to have with two powerful African-American leaders. I think this is the first where we have the president of the UAW, Rory Gamble, and the lieutenant governor of the state of Michigan, Garlin Gilchrest. Rory is the first African-American president of the UAW, and so we would like to welcome him and all those that are visiting on the.
We lost Frank.
Right, you hit the mute.
Oh, okay.
We'll turn it over to Michael.
We're gonna go ahead and Phil, just to let everybody know how the town hall is going to work. That you should be on mute. Phil will mute you, have you in the holding cell there. We're gonna have our conversation, and then near the end of the program, we're gonna open it up again for live questions. But you can text your questions in real time, and as we see them and read them, we will share them. So let's get right to it. Phil, do we have the lieutenant governor on yet?
Not yet.
Okay, with that, we're going to go ahead and start. As Frank said, this is a program of the first. And when Lieutenant Governor comes on, I think it'll be the first time that he and Roy have appeared together. But I remember, Roy, you probably remember this. I teased you. And for everybody out there, if you ever go on Jeopardy, I'm about to give you some money for double Jeopardy. If they ask you who was the first elected African-American man to be the Lieutenant Governor of Michigan, and who was the first African-American president of the UAW? Here are the answers: Roy Gamble and Garlin Gilchrest II. So again, we welcome you, sir. Roy, we want to get right into it, man. The question, we hear people say this all the time, Roy. Why do people say my vote doesn't matter?
Especially you hear that a lot nowadays, and that's by design. They have really worked overtime from the president on down, and I'm talking about the Republican Party has really worked to dilute and diminish the power of voting. Actually, you own a lot of things in this world, but the one personal thing you truly own is your right to vote in America. And we need to get a lot of people to take that more seriously. A lot of people do, but there's a lot of people that don't. And people just really need to understand and be educated a lot more about the voting process, especially as it relates to African Americans and the sacrifices that were made to give all of us the right to vote. And people actually died for this right. You hear this a lot. You hear it so much, it's become a cliche, but it's actually true. And it's very profound in our history. So we have to keep stressing over and over again the power of the vote and the importance of participating in the voting process. We've got so many young folks that are disenfranchised and pretty much live without a lot of hope. That something as simple as voting, they just don't get and understand that is something within their reach that they can control, that cannot be legally taken away from them. And it's our duty as activists and organizations like the CBTU, the UAW, to keep pushing and keep fighting to get that message out there, just how important it is to vote.
So Roy, what are you hearing from the people in the streets, from the union halls, but also in churches and street corners and restaurants? What are the most pressing concerns that you're hearing from people?
Well, it's pretty evident if you look at the voting totals now, how many people have already took advantage of early voting. We're seeing a surge. I think a lot of the efforts to repress the vote have emboldened a lot of people to do so more. It kind of reminds me of President Obama's first election that, most of us on this call worked in. And I'm very proud that we had that level of participation in getting President Obama elected. But we're starting to see a resurgence and an interest in it now with the state that the country is in with the pandemic, race relations, just the lack, the eroding lack of opportunities for young Americans to really participate in this American promise. So we're seeing a resurgence of that, and we're seeing a lot more people engaging in voting, which is a good thing. And I can remember me and you, Michael, having this conversation back when we were working on the Obama campaign, and we had a discussion with a brother, and one of the things we pointed out to him was the amount of young people that were registering to vote, that were participating in early voting. And we pointed out to him that these people weren't this excited about some of the everyday normal candidates. They were excited about the new hope and the new promise that Obama's candidacy brought to the process. So what we're seeing now is people just frustrated, disenfranchised, and saying, hey, this is my way of fighting back. I'm gonna participate, I'm gonna vote. And after the voting's done, that's just the start. We have to make sure that we keep a fire under the folks that we elect and make them do what they have promised to do. So the process just begins with voting.
Yeah. Well, Rory, the Trump administration has been very successful, and I'm trying to be polite here, in removing the truth from their narrative on jobs, on manufacturing, and the effectiveness of unions. How do we counter that? How do we counter the lies?
Well, corporate America has been trying to erode the role of unions in this country for years. They've been throwing everything at us they possibly can. They said for a long time that unions were dead. And my response has always been, if we're dead, then why are you spending billions and billions of dollars to kill trade unionists off in this country? And the fact is, unions cut into the bottom line. They make sure we have great wages for our members, great benefits, job security. Those are the three things that are most important to someone who's working for a living and raising a family: wages, benefits, and job security. A lot of these other issues out here that we get kind of blinded by are just that. They're issues. But what's important is policies that affect wages, benefits, and job security. And that cuts into the bottom line of corporate America. And you'll even see the transplants, which are mostly non-union. They pay their people just enough to keep them from getting interested in a union. And Brother Woods can really attest to that. He worked down south for a long time trying to organize transplants down there. And they pay just enough to keep us down the street and keep their members from joining a union. But we were born in the struggle. Unions are not going nowhere anytime soon. We were born in the struggle, and the struggle is how we maintain and stay relevant, and it keeps us energized to keep fighting.
But Roy, why do you think some union members vote against their interests? I talk to young folk all the time with a union, and I say, these are negotiated benefits you're receiving, negotiated wages. They're not given. It's not a given. We have to keep fighting. But yes, some of our members, they think that, oh no, I don't need to do that. Why do people vote against it?
Yes. I think people get hung up on hot button issues: guns, religion, sex, sexual orientation, immigration. Those are the hot button issues that distract you from the things that are really important to you as you're raising a family. And I mentioned them earlier: wages, benefits, and job security. Those are the three things that are most important to anyone who's raising a family in this country, but you'll see folks vote against and jeopardize those three very life-giving standards just out of fear of their guns, or out of fear of sexual orientation, or immigration or abortion. And, they'll vote against their own best interest for a hot button issue. That's why we're constantly trying to educate our membership on the things out there that are very important. And Republicans are very good at taking those hot button issues and getting people to swing their way. And I'm talking about working people. And when I talk about working people, Black folks, white folks, Arabic folks, Middle Eastern folks, we're all on the line together. I worked on the line for many years. The great thing about the union, we were all making the same amount of money. We all had the same benefits. We all had the same overtime opportunities. But due to systemic policies, there were things in life that I couldn't do as an African-American man that my brothers and sisters who were white could do. Voting and maintaining strong unions will minimize those kind of risks to working families.
Good, you made a perfect segue talking about voting. And in Michigan, we know how important Michigan is. In the last presidential election, Donald Trump won by only 10,704 votes. And we were the closest margin in the entire country. What can we do to increase the amount of people to vote? I know people are going, doing the early voting, but we don't want that momentum to stop. And Frank had a point. I want to talk about the fact that Black women vote, but Black men aren't voting in large numbers. And Frank had a question about Black men being involved in politics.
Yeah, well, that's the biggest question. Why aren't Black men more motivated to be involved in politics? And what can we do to get them motivated? What do you think is that one thing that, or maybe two or three things that can make that happen?
Well, there are a lot of walls that go up. And one of the main walls for African-American participation in politics is money, especially in the city of Detroit. It's hard to fund campaigns that arise out of the city of Detroit for African-American candidates. Resources are not as readily available. That is due in part to a lack of participation, not just from the Republican Party, but the Democrats as well. They need to step up and do a better job of harvesting minority candidates to run for office. And then when they run for office, you got to make sure they're funded and they have the resources necessary to carry out a viable campaign. These are things I've wrestled with as a regional director. We had hundreds of conversations about getting the proper funding for minority candidates and women candidates as well. Women, minorities, it's a struggle to get the funding. And that struggle continues to this day. But people talk about baby steps. We make advances all the time, but some of these things aren't coming fast enough. But here again, it takes activism. It takes the process that we're engaging in tonight to make sure that the people we put in office are living up to their commitments and promises to us.
And that's exactly the next question I wanted to ask you, Roy. And I know that you're the kind of leader who will give us an honest answer. How does the Democratic Party respond to the cries of taking the Black and labor vote for granted?
And here again, and I'm glad we got witnesses here, because I know for years in Region 1A, we fought that fight every election cycle. I can recall getting an African-American sister in to run for the Supreme Court, but we couldn't get her any funding, any major funding. And I know you guys know who I'm talking about, with Sister Deborah Thomas. I was very frustrated with that. And I still am. And we always raise the alarm too about coming into the African-American community late in the game, opening up offices in the last couple of weeks of the campaigns, hiring a few folks. And a lot of times it's the same folk, and then expecting that vote to be there. that has to stop. And the only way it's going to stop is we keep raising our collective voices about this issue and making sure we get our fair share when it's time. And I'm not just talking about African Americans. This is a problem that affects women of all races, all minorities. The funding is just not properly there. So it's an ongoing fight. It's one that we need to keep talking about and until we get, on a level playing field.
Now, you see people are discussing now, Roy, about abandoning the political parties, the Democrats and the Republicans, and talking about creating new parties. What is your opinion on that? Do you think that that's viable?
I think people should get involved in look at your needs in society. What do you need to have to be successful and provide for your families? Or what do your sons and daughters need to be productive in life? Which platform best fits that, and get involved and get active. Third and fourth parties, that's an option, but it's the odds are so strongly against it. And then to be honest with you, these major parties don't really care because the participation in those parties is so low that they just write it off, and they don't have the headache of even hearing the noise. We got to keep making the noise and keep demanding that we're here. We're a viable part of this process, and you have to respect and provide for our needs.
Okay, Roy, we got a question from Oscar Brown. And Oscar, I hope I've got this right. Oscar wants to know, how can we educate all of our membership about politics?
Politics is kind of funny. You got to have a real interest and a drive for politics first. You got to recognize the needs of your membership and just what they exactly need. As I've been saying all tonight, what do they need? What do they need to be sustainable in American society? What are the hot button issues that really matter? You got to get to those points first, and then you got to make sure that people are engaged when you get them out. You got to make sure you got something for them to do, and then you got to make sure they're being paid attention to, because we get bored with something real quick when it's static, and when we feel like we're not being paid attention to. So you get the people out. You got to keep them engaged. I'm proud at 1A, we always ran programs that kept the membership engaged. I used to say all the time, everybody don't like to play golf. Everybody don't like to play softball. Some folks like to sing. We started a choir. Some folks like to ride motorcycles. We started a riders council. Those things have popped up all across the country. We had a writers bureau for people who just like to write and engage, and who may have a love of media. So you got to find the issues that can bring the folk out and get them engaged. And then you got to foster and you got to nurture that, and you got to pay attention to it. And people will get reinvigorated to get involved and come out and be a very driving force.
Well, that ties together. I remember you did Rock the Vote, and that was very successful, because not only you were looking at union members, but you were also looking into the community, getting them involved. But speaking about the community, Roy, the president was here a couple of days ago, and of course he had misinformation. He said the governor should end the stay-at-home order, which has already been extended, ceased in June. But with the plot against her life and the tenor of politics today, how do we get people to stay motivated and stay involved? Because they're getting turned off by all the negativity. How do we fight the negativity and dishonesty in politics today?
I say we keep talking about just how this isn't the way America should be. This great experiment that people engaged in 2016 has obviously failed. And it's time to we don't have to make America great again. Just get America back to being America. And people just need to get out here and get involved. And just, we're not asking for anything other than to do the right thing. for fairness and a respect for each other and the true promise of the American way. That's it. Nobody's asking for anything special. We're just asking for the true promise of being Americans. And that's when you have fairness and respect for everyone. When you're in that plant and you throwing that steel, when you go to pick it up, you don't care what color you are, you don't care where you came from. If you had a new bike when you was growing up or you had to make your own, that steel, it doesn't matter. And that's the way it should be for Americans. There should not be this disconnect and discourse and this disenfranchise of Americans simply because. And to get back to that, it's going to take what you see now, a big turnout of voters, of folks who have looked at this thing for 4 years now and said, this is not it. This is not the America that I wish to be in. And I'm going to get out here and do something about it, pure and simple.
Do you think that we wait too late to start our GOTV efforts? Should we start earlier, much earlier in the year?
Well, we were very conscious of the virus. My responsibility as president of UAW is very twofold. I have a responsibility to protect health and safety, and I also have a responsibility to protect standards of living. And I did not want to jeopardize anyone in this virus. Right now, we're seeing a resurgence of the virus. It never actually went away. It's spiking. I've had conversations with the governor. I've had conversations with the big three, and we're having constant conversations with all of our sectors, IPS, TOP, everyone, to pay attention to the resurgence of the virus. And it's twofold. You're looking at the flu, regular flu season, and COVID, which is spiking again. So for me, the decision was based on keeping people safe. So we went the virtual route for a long time. Now we're doing lit drops, but without any door contact. So first and foremost, I don't want to risk anyone, because when our members go out, and I tell people this all the time, each one of our members, you're not looking at one person, you're looking at a family. You're looking at extended families that average about 7 or 8 people tied to one member. And that's a big responsibility. So I would rather err on the side of righteousness in a situation like this. So I think we did the right thing. I think the other side is very irresponsible, and we've seen the causes of that. I think, though, in the end, people will understand and right will prevail.
So, Roy, what has been your biggest obstacle, your frustrations during this election? And specifically, what is keeping you up at night? What are you worrying about with this election?
Right. You know what? Boy, I could be on this thing till 11 o'clock tonight telling you what to keep me up at night. I'm dealing with trying to close a very dark chapter in the UAW with the federal government. I'm monitoring and having constant discussions about COVID-19. And I'm also talking about very serious looming changes in the industry as it relates to how the auto industry is actually going to look in a very short time with electric and autonomous vehicles. So the most thing that's been keeping me up at night is simply the truth. There's not a lot of truth floating around, especially on social media. You got to be real careful. There are a lot of very highly financed, concerted efforts to distort the truth on social media, and they target not just politicians. They target unions. They target a lot of people with a lot of disinformation, and a lot of people now seem to get a lot of information off social media, which is kind of dangerous, in my opinion. You definitely, never should put all your eggs in one basket. Do your research. everything I say, I tell everybody, do your research. Don't take my word for it. Do your research. And that's important to really getting a real basis for the truth.
Now, Roy, I know you have a lot of conversations in the community, and I know what's near and dear to your heart, and that's our young people. Last week, Frank and I had a bunch of dynamic young people on, Jewel Jones, Ridgely, and Stephanie Young, and we're talking about we're talking about the youth vote. How do we get more young people to get involved and to vote?
With people like you just mentioned, we're going to be very helpful. Jewel Jones, I remember when Jewel came to us at 1A, before he was ever, he was running for what, city council in Inkster, I believe. Wasn't that it, Frank? Yeah, we got behind him. He's a very young man. We got behind him for state rep. He's been a state rep, I think, going on his third term now. This is second term or third?
Yeah, this is his last term, I think.
His last, okay. And
He got one more.
what you say, Frank?
He got one more, I believe.
He got one more. Okay, so just getting out, taking a risk with folks like that. We turn a lot of young folks away. I think too often when you just got to give them a chance to step up. And it goes back to what I said earlier, giving them the proper resources so they can be viable, respectful candidates. And then once they get in office, they'll do a great job. I love when young folks want to step up and get involved. I have a granddaughter who is very interested in politics. She's at U of M right now, and she's very astute on politics and pays a lot of attention. You got to nurture that. We got to nurture it, and we got to keep them interested because they are our future. When you talk about young folks, that's the future. America can live and die by its youth right now. There's a kid somewhere who's going to come up with something that's going to defeat this virus, where you probably never have to worry about pandemics. That's why we got to constantly nurture our youth, constantly support them, and pay a lot more attention to what they say. When they raise their hand, grab it, and pull them on in. They're our future.
Roy, we hear this all the time. This is the most important election ever. Is it really the most important election ever?
This is actually the how you said the concrete to the cliche. This election is in my lifetime. I don't want to date myself and anybody else here, but I can remember being a little kid and hearing about Nixon, and I was scared to death, because my grandfather, he was a Republican. He loved Nixon, and you couldn't say nothing about Nixon. And my dad was a staunch Democrat, and they would argue all the time. I remember going over my grandfather's house. He had a picture of, everybody used to have a picture over the fireplace of Martin Luther King, Jesse Jackson, Jesus, and my granddad had Nixon. That's what he had over his fireplace. Can you imagine? I can remember those discussions, but now I'm more afraid than as a little kid. I'm more afraid now than ever. I can't imagine now if we're not successful in this election, what we're going to look like going forward. This is a national threat. This is not a cliche. This is a bona fide national threat to the lives of us all.
Okay. Well, we're almost at the end of the program, Roy, and we know, and those of you who are watching this live, we're 30 minutes away from the final debate between the two candidates. But Roy, I think I know who you're going to vote for, but I want to know why.
I'm voting for Joe Biden, and very proudly to vote for Joe Biden because it gives us as working families a seat at the table, a very honest seat to have very open and honest discussions about the needs of working families. That is so important in what I do as a trade unionist, to be able to have input into Washington and just share what my people are facing, what they need to have to be viable, What do we need to have in place to keep their workplaces strong and functioning? And to do that, we need a real seat at the table. And that's what's very important. Right now, we don't have that seat at the table. Not at all. We've lived through a pandemic where we had no input into the White House about this pandemic. We had no one reach out to us. I can tell you, I've had governors who I've engaged with on this pandemic, like Governor Whitmer, who was very caring and was on the phone with me every day in the early stages of this thing. And that's the kind of input we need to have for working families. You know, the hot button issues like we talked about earlier, a lot of them, they're important, but not as important as wages, benefits, and job stability. You take away wages, you can't afford them guns. I'm a gun enthusiast myself, but I know how important it is to have the ability to engage in that hobby, and it takes money to do that. So most important for me is gaining input and a seat at the table so that I can have some input and be able to really provide for and have dialogue that's meaningful to our members.
Okay, I think Frank has one more question.
Garland just joined us.
Okay, Lieutenant Governor, are you there?
Hey, brother Gilchrest.
Oh my goodness, everybody, good evening. And God bless y'all. I apologize. We had a family craziness. Y'all got children. Y'all understand how life happens sometimes. Yes, but nevertheless, thank you so much for inviting me. The Coalition of Black Trade Unionists is such an important institution in our community. And I thank you for, frankly, the service that you provide to our community for so long. And to my brother and friend, Rory Gamble, you are such a tight-knit champion. You are a history maker. And I thank you for not only your leadership, but the support that you've shown me personally. As a young man who has entered into public service, the only reason and the only way that I can get here is thanks to the support of leaders like you. So thank you so much. And I want to thank again CBTU. Everything that you mean to our communities is on full display right now as we are dealing with things that we've neither lived through nor led through, as we are facing the biggest election of our lifetime and with the highest stakes we've ever had. So many of your members are the people who have been working to keep all of our communities safe and going throughout this whole pandemic. When some of us were able to stay home and stay safe, y'all were out here. And I just recognize, respect that. And as a public servant, working alongside Gretchen Whitmer, my job is to make sure we have everything we need for our people to be safe and successful. So thank you for everything you do.
Well, I think we want to thank you and the governor for the work that you've done and keeping this state safe. And we got just a few minutes with you. We had a wonderful conversation with President Gamble. We want to ask you what we just asked him. You know, we got pretty much of an idea of who you're going to vote for, but we'd like to know why.
I'm going to show you why. See that? I'm gonna show you why. See that? So listen, the reason that I am so excited to vote this year in the election where it's easier to vote than it's ever been in Michigan, the reason that I'm casting my ballot for Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Gary Peters, Elizabeth Welch, Chief Justice Bridget McCormack, the reason I'm casting my ballot for these people is, first of all, this year has shown us why the person, like the quality of the person whom we elect really matters. Like how they approach decision-making and problem solving, how they deal with people who disagree with them, how they build teams and coalitions, whether or not they respect science and health professionals. Like all of this stuff matters. And Trump has been such an abysmal and deadly failure. The biggest difference to me between 2016 and 2020 is in 2016, you know, the Trump presidency was an idea. It was a theory, it was a possibility. And in 2020, it's been a deadly reality. So I'm definitely voting against that. But when instead I'm voting for at the presidential level is the most progressive, expansive, and responsive agenda when it comes to racial equity and addressing the challenges of racism and racial injustice that we've ever been offered on a general election ballot. When it comes to, for example, investing in Black people's ideas, starting all the way with equitably funding education in our communities, which has been woefully underfunded from the federal level for generations. When it comes to providing a tuition-free pathway to job training and supporting apprenticeship programs, to providing a tuition-free pathway to HBCUs and the public universities for any student who comes from a household that earns less than $125,000 a year. But even when you still have your ideas, regardless of your station or what point you're in your life, they've put forward a plan to invest billions of dollars in community development financial institutions that make loans and investments in Black entrepreneurs and Black business owners and Black businesses that have ideas for our communities to be able to thrive and to grow. It's really tremendous, this agenda, and I'm very excited to support it. And that's one of the many reasons why I'm voting for this ticket.
Well, let me ask you a question. I'm sorry, go ahead, Frank. That was Frank.
Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
A personal question, sir. The plot against the governor, how is that in the tenor of politics that affected you as a leader and as a man?
He's muted.
I'm sorry. So, you know, we obviously learned about this a little while ago, and we're notified before the apprehensions took place. I mean, it just tells you that this is serious. That, you know, all of the rhetoric leads to violence, and it can, and it leads to violence in a very real and clear and present way. And look, I'm a Black man. I've been a threat to people my whole life. Okay, especially somebody my size, and that has continued to be true, even as I've been a public servant. But know that, you know, Governor Whitmer, she's a tough woman. She ain't gonna break. We have protocols in place to protect her and to protect me. And if anything, it deepens and it stiffens our resolve to make sure that we're doing the right thing. Know that we're doing the right thing.
And
that's why
there's a lot of prayers out for you and your family and the governor's family as well.
We need all of them.
Yes, sir. Now you speaking about you being a big man. Like we heard the other day, you were trying to get men out to vote, and you was with another tall dude named Magic Johnson. Who's taller, you or Magic?
Magic got me by about a half inch, y'all. He got me by about a half an inch. But we were over on the east side of Detroit at Wayfield's Barbershop, and we were there because it is critical that Black men show up. 13% of Black men voted for Donald Trump in 2016. And so what I am working to make sure is, one, that our turnout is higher than it ever has been before. And that, to your first question you asked me, that we know what we are voting for, not just who we are voting against. And so I've been doing events, frankly, across the state to mobilize Black men, because I think we're going to be the tipping point group of voters this year. So I've been doing these barbershop events in Detroit. I've been doing marches to the polls. I marched 200 Black men to the polls a couple of Saturdays ago, but I've marched people to the polls in Flint and Saginaw and Grand Rapids and Benton Harbor, every place in between. I'm going to be starting I got a poster campaign for Black men voting that's going along in neighborhoods across the city and across communities across the state. So I'm pulling out all the stops to make sure we know who we're voting for and why, and the fact that our vote has power. Okay, we're gonna. Frank, did you have a question before we let them go?
Yeah, we can let them go, but I want to say, make sure that we partner with the state at CBTU. We're partnered with the UAW. We're to partner with the state and you, Lieutenant Governor Gilchrest, to partner with to make sure we get younger African American men educated in politics and want to vote. The more they see of men like you, the more they want to be engaged. I had a couple young men in the office over at the Vote Center, and they came in because they were interested in politics, and they just didn't know anything about it, and they wanted to engage. So they've been actually behind us the last couple of days. They've been coming in, doing the grunt work, but they've been listening. And I took them up the street to meet Corey Hall. We had a conversation with Corey Hall. And the more that they see African-American men in leadership positions, the more they're going to be interested in politics. And they need to see more like you. And I applaud your efforts to get the 200 men out to vote in these cities. We're going to help you do more. We're going to make sure we recruit those young folks. We're going to educate them, and we're going to get them to you. And and we're gonna get them to the end of the community so we can make this thing work for us.
Well, thank you for that. And look, the Vote Center is the anchorest of anchor institutions, you know, in terms of providing that political infrastructure for people to come and to learn how to be deeply engaged in the process. So I thank all of you, and you know, Brother Gamble, again, I know you played a really significant role in making sure that was supported, because that's an important space for our people to have, because it launches people into their journey of understanding their political power and potential. And so I appreciate the friendship and the support that all of you have shown, not just for me as an individual, but for our community as a whole. And know that I'm right here with you. I'm always going to be right here with you. We have so much work to do, but that is work that can be done. And it will only be done, however, at least in the right way, if we're the ones who step up and do it. So thank you so much for all that you represent for our people.
Well, we want to thank both of you, gentlemen, for being here. You great men. Lieutenant Governor, you missed it. We started the program out. We had this really great intro about you being the first elected African-American to be elected as Lieutenant Governor. And we had the first African-American to be the UAW president. And we called the show The First. So this is the first.
Well, look, he's a history maker. That's why I said that. He's a history maker.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. It's been hard work. I'm not gonna even lie. It's been hard work, and we got a lot more work to do. But it's worthwhile, because when I look at that little baby you holding there, and I think about all my grandkids, and I just think about everyone on this call who all have extended families. The work that we do is so profound and so meaningful to so many people, and it's truly a blessing to do it. And I tell a lot of young reps in the UAW, if you truly apply yourself on this job, and if you really apply yourself in doing this job, you get to do something positive in somebody's life every day. That's what you can go home and go to bed at night knowing that you made a very positive difference in somebody's life, and it's truly a blessing to be able to do that. So I really thank God for the ability and the opportunity to do it. And I thank God for my union and all my brothers and sisters. I know we're about to wrap, but I saw Brenda Brundage was on here. And I just wanted to say to Brenda, I love you, my sister. You're in my prayers. Stay strong.
All right. And Lieutenant Governor, before we close out, and Rory, I'm gonna come back to you. What would you like to leave everybody with this about this election? Lieutenant Governor?
Everybody on this call and participating in this knows somebody that's not going to vote. Let's hear from you. Everybody knows somebody. You know, all of us got people in our phones saved who won't vote unless they hear from you, who are on the fence about participating. I want you to contact them and remind them about how powerful they are. Voting is about power. Organizing is about power. And one thing that I know about powerful people, that has always been true about powerful people, is powerful people do not pass up an opportunity to use their power. And so let's make sure that all of our people recognize that this is a tremendous opportunity and that they don't leave their power on the table.
Thank you. President Gamble?
Well, we have a very viable threat in our country right now, and there's a very simple way to eliminate it, and that's to vote and vote Democratic. At no other point in our immediate history have we been so threatened as we are now, economically and health-wise at the same time. So we're facing the perfect storm. It's going to take all of us to come together and not vote for the hot button issues, but just vote for righteousness, and make sure your vote is a vote that's going to bring the balance back, and just simply make America again.
Thank you much, both of you two. Outstanding. Doing my research for this program, I read this magazine article about these Black voices that changed America. And like I say tonight, you too, your voices will change America by helping people understand the reason why they need to vote. I know we want to leave you guys a lot of information before we go. We're doing some community things, CBTU, but everybody, there's a thing happening this Sunday, Soul to the Polls, the Liberty Temple Baptist Church. At 17188 Greenfield, they're going to caravan to the Norfolk Activity Center. Vote, 10:15 lineup. 10:30 depart, drive your car, bring your mask, your ballot, or you can vote in person this Sunday. Okay, again, meeting up at Liberty Temple Baptist Church, and they're going to end up at Northwest Activity Center to vote. It's truly, truly important. But again, Lieutenant Governor, thank you. And hi, baby, how you doing? Hey, cousin. And President Rory Gamble, we thank you so much for taking time out of this day. I know you guys will watch the debate, but we thank you for taking time to talk to the people. My brother Frank.
Opportunity. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Like I said, Mike says thank you. I cannot thank you enough, Rory Gamble, for the opportunity you've given me, and the opportunity to be in the presence of my membership. And it's been a blessing. The way we're going to win this thing, we have to get out and make sure, like Brother Gilchrist said, get out and talk to whoever you got in your phone that you probably haven't talked to in a while. Reach out to them. Make sure they're going to vote. One thing we're going to do this weekend for our CBTU, we have lawn signs for the first time from CBTU. It says just vote. So we're going to do an action on Saturday. If you need a lawn sign, I have them. So we're going to make sure, we need you to get the lawn sign, take a picture of it, and we're going to send that out a big video blast of what we're doing as part of CBTU. We're also next Friday, over at the Vote Center. We got to get out the vote effort. October 30th, we starting at 1 o'clock. We're going to be giving away food, voter information. We got these great boxes of food from Gleaners. We only got 100, so they're not going to last a long time. But we need you to come on out and participate.
Going quick.
Oh boy. We also we're going to have COVID testing. We got that set up. Thank Michael. We got that set up today. So we're going to do COVID testing, but you have to pre-register. That'll be going up. We're going to have it up tomorrow where we can have all that information ready to go. So, I mean, it's exciting. This is a time of year that I love, and everybody knows that. But politics is 24/7, 365. We have to make sure we engage that way. We have to continue to engage that way and bring those young folks up to get involved. So that's all I have to say for tonight. And I want to thank everyone, especially my brother President Rory Gamble and Lieutenant Governor Gov Garlin Gilchrist for making this an eventful day. We applaud your efforts. We applaud your life. God bless you.
Thank you all. Appreciate the opportunity. I really do.
Thank you.
Y'all take care.
Everybody who hears the sound of my voice, vote, vote, vote. There is no excuse. Vote, 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 because your life does depend on it. You can vote in person, you can vote by mail, or you can drop it off in front of your clerk's office. But please, everybody, don't blow this opportunity.
First time voter. First time voter.
All right.
First time voter. First time
one of them
voter.
young guys that left the office.
All right, everybody, next week we got a special surprise for you. It's going to blow your mind. It's going to be on our program. Don't miss it.
Next week, don't forget, come by and get your signs tomorrow. I only got 30, so first come, first serve. All right, we are holding out. We also got plaques to go in the barbershops, beauty shops, any business. So come pick those up and put them in your window. If you got a business you want to give it to, come get it. Dana has his allotment over at the Cat and Chapel. Everybody make sure you get with him so we can have a great Saturday and make this happen. I think there's one other thing. I can't think of what it is, but it's Saturday. All right. With that, I'm going to leave. Everybody have a good night.
All right. Got that first time voter.
Thank you all.
First time
All
voter.
right.
All right. Thank you, man. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Good night, everybody.
All right. Good night.
All right. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you. Good. I enjoyed it. Bye.